The reason many players have a soft loop is this misunderstanding that brushing is a stationary, localized action. That's why their contact is slippery and lacks grip. It feels like this. I'm in position, so why is my loop against backspin hitting the net? It's because you're rushing and not waiting for the ball. Let me show you. Imagine the ball in his hand has backspin. Now, apply downward force and just drop it. See how the ball drops? You're not waiting for that drop, you're hitting too early. This is exactly what's happening. This is why you're missing the ball or failing to brush it properly. If you contact the ball too early, you'll hit it with the bottom part of your racket and miss it completely. This results in a powerless feeling, what we call ineffective friction. So when you keep failing to loop the ball or missing it, you might think you're too slow, but actually, you're too fast. Because the ball is dropping, your early timing causes you to miss it completely. It's not because you're too slow. We have to correct this misunderstanding first. The worst outcome is missing the ball. What's the second worst outcome? Let's say the ball is dropping to this point, at what you'd call the peak or just after. Your swing is too early, so your racket is still up here. And the ball just drops right under it. As a result, you're barely brushing the ball. You're not using your racket's sweet spot or the best part of your rubber at all. You're just using the edge, which leads to that weak, ineffective brushing motion. So, how can you get solid contact on the upper part of your racket for better friction? When you step in, you must establish a solid lunge stance. See? When you have a lunge stance, it feels like this. So every time you move to your forehand to loop a backspin ball, think about getting into that lunge stance. This ensures your body level is low enough. Second, let's talk about your shoulder. Your shoulder has to drop too. The better the player, the heavier their backspin, and the lower the ball will bounce. For a low bouncing ball like that, you need to drop your shoulder even more. Many players just rotate horizontally, which is a movement for topspin, not backspin. How do you get the right feeling? Position your elbow at the same height as your hip. See how your shoulder naturally drops? Your elbow should be at your hip's height, not touching it, but on the same horizontal plane. Look, this way you can properly wrap around the ball. So, you must first have the right conditions to generate force into the ball. First, use your legs to get into a lunge stance. Second, align your elbow height with your hip. Amateur players usually just rotate their arm back like this. Even if you tell them to rotate their hips, this is what they do. That's not the correct rotation. Their body isn't dropping, they are just turning horizontally. This causes them to hit the back of the ball. You might get away with it on a light backspin. But if the ball has heavy spin, you won't be able to lift it. Trying to lift a heavy backspin ball by hitting its back requires an incredible amount of power. It's too difficult. So when you move in, make sure not only to plant your feet for power, but also to drop your hip, which allows your shoulder to lower your arm into the correct backswing position to wait for the ball. This isn't difficult. As the ball comes, see, keep your elbow near your hip. So, once you're in a lunge stance and your elbow is down, how else can you find the correct force? Why do I sometimes still hit the net even after doing these two things correctly? From your backswing, at the moment of contact, you must drive forward first. It's not your wrist, elbow, or forearm that initiates the forward motion. The first thing to move forward is the racket itself. Watch my paddle, it brushes around the ball, then the racket angle leads the forearm through the shot, and finally you complete the follow-through. The common mistake is that at contact, the racket head doesn't move first. Instead, the wrist or the forearm leads the motion. Just with a small flick. After a normal backswing, when you contact the ball, the initial force shouldn't come from your upper arm, shoulder, elbow, or wrist. It must come from your fingers driving the racket head. For example, watch my backswing. At the moment of contact, the first step should be this. Then, the second step is to start driving forward, and finally, break the motion with your follow-through. I've also noticed a critical point. Your old habit was that after the initial brush, you would immediately start your follow-through. This leads to a misconception that your loop isn't powerful enough because your swing is too small, which then makes you swing your whole arm wildly. Now, watch my compact swing. Do you think that ball has power? It's more than enough. Even without much body rotation, it's effective, right? So the power shouldn't come from a huge, wild swing. My swing isn't big, and my backswing is short. I accelerate late in the stroke, using mainly my arm. Yet the ball still lands with good speed and without much body movement. The reason is that at contact, you're not driving through the ball. You're pulling your power back immediately. Look, this is driving forward with power. And this is pulling back. It makes your shots short and weak. When that happens, you overcompensate by swinging bigger. Look at the modern game. Fan Zhendong, Lin Sherdong, even Haramoto and Felix Lebrun, their swing mechanics are all becoming more compact. Why is that? In my generation, the trend was to make swings as big as possible. Now, the focus is on explosive power, quick recovery, and consistency. So why do so many amateur players lack quality in their shots? It's because at the moment of contact, you don't drive forward, which means you can't accelerate through the second half of your stroke. You're stopping your power as the ball reaches the opponent's side. If you drive forward a little more before finishing your stroke, you won't need to swing so hard. There are two key points here. At contact, the motion should not be initiated by your wrist, elbow, or forearm. It must be the racket head. Your fingers should drive the racket head forward and rotate it. That should be your first step. After that step, you can then drive forward, accelerate your forearm, and complete the follow-through. Altogether, it looks like this. A shot like that is more than enough. The complete motion should be: initiate not with the wrist, elbow, or arm, but with the fingers driving the racket forward and around the ball. This rotation gives you friction and simultaneously counters the opponent's spin, allowing you to lift the ball. After lifting the ball, the key is your elbow. Once you've made contact, don't push your elbow forward, lift it up, or swing it left. The elbow should follow the racket's path forward and provide a stable pivot for your forearm to act. Finally, the follow-through isn't a separate action. It's the natural result of breaking your forward momentum. Without this breaking action, the ball would fly off the table. You accelerate into the follow-through to control the power. These three stages are what we call brush, drive, finish. Many players have the misconception that brushing the ball is a stationary action. They think they should brush it like this, which is why the ball often doesn't clear the net. Their arm isn't driving forward. Your brush must happen as you are driving into the ball. As your arm swings forward and makes contact, your fingers and wrist must be firm and continue to push forward. It's not a motion that stops upon contact. Think of it as a continuous motion. No matter where you contact the ball during your swing, you must continue driving forward after the brush. It's one fluid motion. The reason many players have a soft loop is this misunderstanding that brushing is a stationary, localized action. They aren't brushing while driving forward. They try to brush on the spot, and if they flick their wrist, the shot becomes weak. This is what we mean by not getting a good grip on the ball. This is an example of stationary brushing. Many players probably have this misunderstanding. They think brushing is about rotating the wrist in place, rather than brushing while driving forward. That's why their contact is slippery and lacks grip. It feels like this. You must remember, at the moment of contact, the motion is not initiated by pushing your wrist, nor by jamming your forearm and elbow forward. It's initiated by your fingers driving the racket head forward and rotating. That is your first step. When you're in your backswing and about to make contact, do not brush on the spot. Look, this is just hitting forward without brushing. The motion starts with my fingers, giving the racket head a small nudge out to a diagonal position in front. Only then does my forearm engage and drive forward to finish the stroke with a full follow-through. With this technique, you can loop even the heaviest backspin. Once you master this first step, you can generate a lot of power. See how I drive into it? From there, you can unleash as much power as you want. I think the reason many players have a soft contact is that they are too focused on the idea of brushing. It's this exact feeling. They could probably make the shot by just hitting it, but instead they overthink brushing and try to do this. Look, it's this feeling. It's this motion. They could probably make the shot by simply hitting through it. But by trying to brush it this way, they dissipate the force and end up hitting the net. Therefore, when looping a backspin ball, you must always drive from back to front to find the friction. This friction is absolutely not an up and down motion. It is a forward motion. Now, serve a heavy backspin, like a side underspin. Watch everyone. If I try to lift the ball upwards with the same brushing motion, it goes into the net. But when you drive from back to front while brushing it, you can engage the ball with ease. If you try to lift upwards while brushing, it's like you're absorbing the ball's energy. See, this is absorbing force. Isn't this how you do a soft block? Your loop is essentially absorbing the force of the spin. This, however, is combining forces. We have to go with the spin, meeting it head-on to create friction. As the ball comes, meet it and brush. We can't absorb the force. That might work against a fast ball, but against backspin, you won't be able to get the ball over the net. The first bounce doesn't even make it to the net. This problem is most common against long pips. We tend to lift upwards. But you must drive from back to front. You have to drive into the ball to brush it properly. Only then will the ball have the right arc. If you don't drive into it, your shot will get height, but it will lack depth. When the ball comes, watch, drive into it and brush.